All right, good morning, everybody. Thought before I got rolling today, I'd want to give a quick shout out to Bobby Wagner and for him joining the Seattle Storm ownership group. This guy is a remarkable competitor, remarkable teammate and person, and they're lucky to have him as part of their organization. I promise you he'll make an impact. He just does. It's who he is and how he gets down. So quick shout out to him. And I thought I'd lead off today just, what were some of my takeaways on day one as we were getting started. I really had my eye on some of the newer commanders who were veterans. Goldman and LT and Vaughn and Will Harris and Debo and JK, Wise, Jones, and seeing how they're fitting into the system and what it goes, because in this ramp-up period, these are where these roles get determined, in the weeks ahead. So I really wanted to see them and see their connection with their teammates. That's an important part of belonging to a group, and I was certainly impressed by those guys getting started. So with all that said, I'll get rocking with you guys, and let's get it going.
Vaughn, what were some of the things that you saw in the leading up to this on film that said, like, hey, he still has something to offer here?
Yeah, you want to see as a pass rusher, John, first thing, can you beat somebody to the punch? He's got different unique talents. He can bend. He's long. But at this point, it's what's the skills? You want to find out what the skills are. And I like the stunts. I like that he's versatile, that he can play from his feet. He can play from down. We like to use variety in how we would want to go attack things. So that was some of the things that we talked. I'd be up on my feet. I could go inside, stand up. And so Luvu does some of that. He does some of that. I just like having a deep crew of guys that can be versatile and do things. But I also like the detail that he gets into as a pass rusher. We talked a lot about the summit that, he's been part of for a long time, of other players and, their ability to share and veterans. So it was just fun to talk pass rush with him, honestly. So what I saw on tape, the quickness to beat somebody to the punch, and that's what pass rushing, the first part, has to be about getting the offensive tackle back and feeling that stress. If you don't have that, it makes it difficult to put a lot of stress on a tackle.
So you had some older players, Bobby, Zach, guys like that, who were productive. What's your philosophy, and how has it changed with handling guys who are at that stage to keep them fresh throughout the year?
Well, really, organizationally, that's a big topic for us to make sure that it's customized, John, to each individual player. Through Josh, we've invested a lot, on terms of recovery. We put that as part of our day. But there's also some practices that, there'll be some days where a player who's got a lot of experience and a lot of games, they won't do the same amount as some that's, needs more. And so we just try to customize it even though it's a big scale, but when you're in training camp, it's actually a little easier to do, John, than in season. He can be out, we can work this day, and so we map out the calendar, Adam and I together, what days would make sense for somebody to back off, what days would make sense to push it, because you also need those days as well.
You talk about consistency. How big is it for your quarterback that Cliff remained here and for the entire program? And how large is that those two are together for a second season?
Yeah, the two of them and Tavita and David Blau, Brian Johnson, like this, ecosystem of quarterback play, it's really cool. But the person right in the front and center of it is Jayden, and it's the work ethic that he just doesn't back off, and that's one of the things that I really admire about him, that he is not changing the way he approaches things. I want to get in early to find my edges and find the spot. So it is one of the things that I really, really appreciate him. The unseen work that goes in with him, it's a lot, and the staff's a big part of that, because when you're doing those things together, like, you're helping them get ready, and so we're very fortunate that way.
Hey, Dan, to stay on the Cliff topic, last year was about getting acclimated to each other, the defensive coach, the offensive coordinator, figuring out what makes sense, how to build this team. You did that. Now the next year, I was curious, what was your offseason approach like with Cliff? How did you guys communicate about, hey, here's what obviously worked, here's what we need to fix? How did you guys kind of have that as a discussion?
Yeah, we did that really in all three phases, Ben, to make sure that what did we really like and we want to keep doing, and what do we need to stop doing. In other words, this isn't as effective. It's not, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And then as an entire staff, that's where we really wanted to make our mark. Could we collaborate at an even stronger level? When you're putting in a system, or Joe and Cliff, had the expertise in their sides, and now you're able to add, some more variations to that after going through some time, because now you can study some other things. When you're first putting in a system, Ben, the very first thing, it's cut and dry, and this and this and this. Then you can explore as it goes on. So it won't stay exactly the same year in and year out. So now you can add other experiences. And so I like the fact that the staff is collaborating, which makes sense in year 2 more than in year 1. Year 1, you need chemistry, connection, support. The play callers need support. Yes, that's a good play. It'll work, as opposed to, I did this somewhere else, I did this somewhere else, I did this somewhere else. It's much easier to do that year 2 than year 1. Year 1, it's about putting in our systems, finding the drills, how to feature the players for it, for that specific skill. Then you can open it a little bit differently.
And so to that end, you guys obviously made a lot of adjustments on the offensive line, trading for Laramie, drafting Josh, and your discussions with Cliff. How much did whatever the topics you were discussing lead to those kind of bold decisions?
Well, that's driven first through Adam, and when you make moves like that, at the spot, that's big ones. And Adam's bold to make those things and make the decisions that we need. And we're in constant communication about the roster. So through the off season, we do an assessment, like after the season, before you even look into free agency, you look at your own group. And before the guys even left, we met with every player on the team that was a free agent, and who's back, and how do you start with that, and then you keep building, Ben. But we're fortunate from the coaching side that we're, part of, the discussions with Adam and his staff on the personnel about what's the best fit for our team. And I love that we scout and pick players for us, not for the NFL, what fits us. And there's a culture element to that as well. We're not for everybody, but for the guys that, love ball, love competing, this is the type of environment that you could really thrive in, but we really push it. And that's not for everybody, but we like doing that, and that's why we work so hard on our skills, not just in training camp, but you see that in December and January. We're still working the skill work because I think that's the edge, and we like doing that.
Going back to Vaughn and his first step, can you teach that, or is that either you have it or you don't?
That's a you have it or you don't. And you can see it, Nikki, so it's not hard to evaluate somebody that's got the ability to really jump off the spot. Not unlike a boxer, where you have to beat somebody to the punch, and wide, or some of the fighters had that quick jab that could just snap things as opposed to methodical and a little bit slower. So the initial quickness at that position is really needed. At end especially. At tackle, you can muscle some guys more, but usually when you're an edge player, you're giving up 70, 80 pounds. So it's not going to be I'm going to get stronger than this player. I've got to beat him to the punch, and then I can use my leverage and wrestle him. But you don't want to fight a fair fight, so you got to beat him to the spot.
And from what you've seen, I know it's only been one day. Does he still have the bend he did maybe in his
Yeah,
prime?
I saw that for sure on the tape from last year. And like I said, we're just getting started on the things that he can do. And that was one of the things he and I discussed together, as we're learning, what do you like, which side, what techniques, what stunts. So I need to learn that, with him over the next month.
Hey, Dan, good morning.
Good morning.
From your experience, what is the difference between building a culture and sustaining a culture?
Yeah. Building it, I would say, leads into sustaining. The culture is what you do on an everyday basis. Sometimes I think people can get environment and culture confused. Environment, like we're upbeat here, we do have a positive attitude. I look at things as the glass is half full, but the culture is the way that we practice, the way that we meet, the competitive nature. And so you have to sustain it. You have to recognize it when it's right and also when it's not. And I think that's one of the real things about sustaining is this is the standard, this is what we have. And so when we see it, I tell them and I show them, whether it's film or a conversation. When it's being met, I want that. I also want it when it's not being met, and not just turn a blind eye and hope that it'll get better the next day. So we have really high standards, but you do have to push them. So The fun part is building because it's new and you're trying things. There's some resistance early. Okay, I haven't done that before. But once you get to the spot, then it's like, this is how we do business together. And the sustaining is more about reinforcing and reminding. It's one thing to have it, but like if you don't reinforce it, you don't really have a standard or a culture because it's just a sign on a wall or, some bullshit that you say. If you don't live it, then you kind of just BSing yourself.
A little smaller bore question. So we saw yesterday Wiley with the ones and Carnley with the two at right tackle. At this stage, what should or should we not read into that? Like, I guess where's your mindset at with that position right now?
We're going to compete for this for a while, so I wouldn't look into it because you'll see on ones today that Connolly will be at right with the ones, and we'll mix it around some. So, and I wouldn't read into that in the same space. So, it is cool to see. All right, he was, here's going against Vaughn, and then the next time against DA. And so, how do we work different guys and work them? And the training camp practices against other teams help as well. So that's why I'm looking forward to having the chance to go up, with the Patriots and have the Ravens here. So in preseason games, so like there's a lot of exposures that can happen, and that's kind of how you get better. You just got to go and fight for it. But it is a fun experience to go through. I was, thinking about him yesterday. Like he's probably watched a lot of Von Miller, but he's never blocked him. And so, and blocking him in practice and the first day with no pads is well different than 3rd and 8 with inside of 2 minutes with the game on the line. So lots to do, but I'm really encouraged by Josh's work ethic. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dan. When you guys did your look back on your team at the end of the season, how much of rebuilding the lines of scrimmage was simply a matter of we need to get different talents in here, and how much is it division-based? Like, we've got to figure out how to block Carter and Davis. We got to figure out how to block Dexter Lawrence. We got to figure out how to block Parsons on a regular basis.
Fair question. It wasn't division-based, but maybe that's a byproduct of it because we wanted to be a line of scrimmage team first, and make sure at those spots, if you're strong there, we felt that, hey man, you got a chance to be in every fight. And obviously the year prior, having the opportunity to draft, Jaden that high, that was a big opportunity. So at that time, it was also, we got Zach even before we had the quarterback. We knew that importance of the tight end and some other things that I thought Adam was thoughtful about. But going into the evaluation piece, we knew every position maybe we don't address, but how would we get what we want to get to? And there's also some players that we're excited to see develop. But the line of scrimmage on both sides, that was definitely a big emphasis for us, and so we're excited to see these guys develop together.
And can I just follow up on Cosme, because I wasn't quite sure about what did you mean he could be available for week 1 to play, or that he could just be closer to playing during the regular season?
So if he would come off PUP, then he could be eligible for that, but we won't know that for a few more weeks. If we wait till after and start the season, then you're automatically at 4. So we're not going to put any judgment or saying he's not going to be ready or is. We're just not sure yet, but he's hit a lot of the markers. And so he's close, he's already doing drill work and things to go. But as far as acclimating into practice and team, we haven't got to that spot yet. So I'd say in another month we'll have a good sense of okay, by mid-August or, towards the end, where are we at? And then we can get a better sense. Is it 2 to 3 weeks? Is it 4 to 5 weeks? And until that timeline comes, we'll just, keep at the rehab and keep hitting it.
It's obviously tough to join a team mid-year, but with Marshawn Lattimore last year, was there a lot of changes that had to be made in the way that he played to join this defense? And what kind of expectations, does it ramp up expectations now that he has a full offseason in this program?
Yeah, it definitely changes because now you got to know the coaches as opposed to going in and, okay, here's the game plan and this is what we do. So you kind of get to this is why we do this call, this is why we use this technique, and that's easier. It's also difficult, first came in and was injured, wasn't able to practice, so it wasn't the ideal runway, okay, just as easy as you try to make it, sometimes just not. But now that we have a whole time with them And he can also communicate too, man. This is a technique I really like, and I want to stay doing that. And that's our job as coaches, to find the balance of both. But yeah, he's off to a good start. And I sensed that at the minicamp too. Like, where he was at, the energy with him and the other guys here, it was a good start. All right. Yep. Yeah. We can do better than that. Yeah. There we go.